Hello listeners from around the world, I'm Irene and you're welcome to the premiere edition of Garden Academy Fireside Chat. Our host for today is none other than Garden Academy's very own Olanrewaju Idowu, fondly referred to as Oladiamonds, the strategist, the principal and co-founder of Garden Academy. Oladiamonds is a certified HR, agile and leadership coach, and a train-the-trainer expert. He is a walking archive of knowledge. As a tech enthusiast, he is passionate about talent marketplace. Our special guest for today's edition is Bunmi Akinyemiju, the CEO of Venture Garden Group, a high-growth tech holding company, and he is also the founding partner, Greenhouse Capital, a company that has invested in 20 innovative fintech companies across Africa. Bunmi is a serial entrepreneur, tech investor, and innovator. Bunmi has dedicated his works and resources to transforming Africa through technology, having successfully led several impactful changes in the private and public sector. Listeners from around the world, here is a premiere edition of Garden Academy Fireside Chat, Season 1, Episode 1.
On this particular season, right, and this episode, we are having the group CEO, the co-founder, the partner of, I don't even know how many businesses to mention, but let me just mention two of them, right? That is Venture Garden Group and Greenhouse Capital, right? If you go and check the record with CAC in US, you're going to see his name linked to several businesses because he has been there and he has done that. So we are having Bunmi today on the show. So please sit back, relax, and let us just flow like seamlessly. Okay, so number one question for Bunmi is that, Bunmi, just tell us briefly about you. So these guys want to meet you, right? They are our students at Garden Academy, right? They've been here, learned about product designing, learned about BA. So tell them about your journey, right? What is Bunmi like in few sentences? What is Bunmi's story? How you summarize Bunmi's story? How do you connect Bunmi's story with them? Many of them are pivoting from their experience. They work for 5 years. Some of them are entrepreneurs. Some of them don't have a job yet. And you understand how the economy is today across the world, not even just Nigeria, but Nigeria is even more complicated, right? And we have students joining from US. We have some joining from South Africa. A few of them joining from Ghana. So I want you to just tell them today, what is it about you that they've not even heard before? So talk to them.
No, thanks, Diamond, and thanks for having me, the Garden Academy team, for putting this together. Excited to be here. And all of you, thanks for having me. I'm so excited. I've been hearing about the number of people and everywhere they're coming from, and so it's a privilege. So who is Bunmi? I'm just a gentle guy, I'm just a hustler. I'm just a, very, very quiet guy that grew up coding, actually, just, writing code, love computers, those types of things. But something magical happened to me as a kid, right? And I sometimes tell this story. I tell it a lot more now than I used to. And what happened was the fact that I grew up on a campus, on like a university campus. Some of you guys are too young, but back then, if you are studying computer science, you have to write your COBOL code or Fortran code on paper, and then if you're lucky, maybe once a week or once every 2 weeks, you have access to the lab, to the computer to actually now type it up and debug it, and you have a finite amount of time. But anyway, long story short, most people that go and do computer science in school, they have to write this capstone project at the end. And it's really tough. And I, as a young kid, maybe 14 years old, 13, something like that, I became that guy that many final year students will outsource their project to, and I'll write it for them, and they'll give me money. Now imagine that as a young kid, right? It meant I was making money. It meant I didn't need my parents, for pocket money. It meant that the influence that your parents and uncles have on you is gone, right? Because you have your independence. So essentially, I found that the idea of creating things with my hands and selling it to a market on this campus gave me money, gave me independence, and I had freedom. And since then, I got hooked just on the idea of entrepreneurship, on the idea of creating things and, you know, creating value out of it. And I found my freedom. And since then, I haven't really had the opportunity to actually do real work. All I've been doing since then is just like creating stuff, you know, and generating value out of it. And, you know, so fast forward, my story has just been similar since then. You know, I will just join some random guys who are trying to create something, and we'll create it together. It will turn into value, it will turn into money, and I enjoy every bit of it. So the opportunity to talk to you guys as product designers and analysts is something that I'm passionate about, because the idea of creating something from nothing, that birthing process, is something that from a young kid at a young age in Nigeria on Ife campus. This was actually OAU campus. I didn't go to OAU, but I grew up on, you know, OAU campus. Essentially, I went to staff school there. You know, eventually I did a little bit of university in Akure, in Futa, and then I actually went to the US, but then I didn't really pay attention to school, you know, most of the time, because I was busy building, right? And I was just busy building. So in Michigan, did the same thing. I was just like coding and building and getting paid for it. And I got addicted. So that's why Diamond said, you know, since then, when I see a problem, I just want to solve it, make money off of it. And then hopefully people around me also get to grow, right? And we all grow together and learn together and start the next thing and the next thing. So hopefully many of you guys here, we're going to join hands together and build something interesting.
Okay, thank you very much, Bunmi, for that. There's something that you mentioned that I would just like you to talk about, you know, particularly with the Gen Z, millennial, different kind of generations across the world. Even now, it's now overlap on each other. I don't even know who is who anymore. There's a question I would like to ask you, and it's something that you mentioned here. So, which is you starting early, right, by doing something for some group of students and you're getting money back. But today, there's a lot of confusion about, I want to start up my thing, right? People just think about the money and people forget the part of the value, right? And I really want to talk about that today and explain, what does that mean for you? What is entrepreneurship from your own side? What does it mean to say you are giving value? Were you going for the money, right? And how did it feel like at that kind of early stage? Because today, I'm sure you are also aware today, many employees have left you to set up their business. Many of them have come back again to say, guys, it didn't work for me, and you have also supported them again. I know many of those kind of stories, but, you know, in Better Garden Group, you know, we started introducing what we call leaderpreneur, right? Entrepreneurship within being an employee, something that's beyond an employee. Can you explain what that means, right, to people that are listening to you, right? Entrepreneurship from the point of giving value, then the money now comes, solving problems. Because we're not talking about the money, right? You were talking more about, oh, I was solving problems. But in this generation, sometimes people get so excited about the money they want to make, the funding they want to get, and they forget the part of the value. So can you talk about this, your journey? Is it easy? How was it for you about the point of the value? Thank you.
No, absolutely. Thanks, Diamond, for that. Actually, you know, this is something that a lot of people get wrong so many times, you know, and it's something that I learned over time. And that's why most of the things I actually did in the earlier parts of my career, when I started doing this like professionally, right? I'm not talking about on campus when people would just, you know, pay a little bit, 100 naira, 200 naira, 500 naira here and there, right? Professionally, one of the biggest things I realized was solving a problem is what's important, right? Creating value is what's important. And most of the time, I didn't actually charge for what I was doing, right? Because the learning was really important, and creating value is really important. So I came up with this philosophy that, like, when you create value will come for you. Money will come after you. So the question is the sequencing and what you focus on When you focus on problems, what kind of problems can I solve? That's number one. When you focus on how can I actually solve the problem and deliver happiness to the problem that had pain or the person that had pain, then value will come for you. And that value, sometimes it's money, sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's open doors. Sometimes it's a mentor. Sometimes it's a new relationship. So I think it's important not to focus on money, but to see that as a byproduct that will just come. Because when you don't think about it, it will come after you. When that is the thing that you think about and think about and think about, then you'll be chasing the wrong things. You will not actually create the value that you're talking about. So because of that, and that leads me to my second concept, a lot of people want to build a startup. And I'm the first one to be promoting startups, technology, but I'm also the first person to tell you that building a startup is not for everybody. And in fact, building a startup is not the best path to make a lot of money in life. And that might be confusing. But building a startup, I can tell you, any startup that I've seen, that's any success that I've seen, takes a minimum of 10 years. Like a minimum of 10 years to actually like kind of build a startup. And it's 10 years of pain, 10 years of like, you know, and so on and so forth. And it's not the fastest way to wealth. I can tell you the fastest way to wealth. So because of that, I tell a lot of people within our environment that entrepreneurship is a mindset. And entrepreneurship is more of a mindset in terms of how do you think. An entrepreneur thinks about things in three ways. First, I think that I don't deserve anything. I'm not entitled to anything, not money, not anything, right? I only deserve things where I create value, right? So that's one. The second thing is that entrepreneurial mindset is more like, don't give me fish, but teach me how to fish. That mindset of learning, continuous improvement, growth, and so on and so forth is very, very important. And then the third one, the entrepreneurial mindset is that as long as I am growing my capacity and capabilities, the magic will happen, the money will come, the relationships will come, and so on and so forth. So in a nutshell, that's how I think about things. Focus on value first. Focus on creating value. Don't focus on money. All of that will come. And sometimes it's not the money that comes, it's the relationship, it's the open doors, it's the, it's not about like money. And also, entrepreneurship is not the idea of going and creating a startup. It's about a mindset. Sometimes you're just a co-founder with an existing startup. Sometimes you're employee number 5 from a startup. In fact, statistically in the US, you're likely to build a lot more wealth as employee number 5 or 10 or 25 in a successful company than you are in starting a new business. Anyway, I'm going to stop there.
Okay, so like I told you guys, Bunmi surely has a lot of things to share there. And there are 4 things that Bunmi actually shared about entrepreneurial mindset. Number 1 is that you need to think that you don't deserve anything until you create value. And that is very hard to swallow. Number 2 is that don't give me fish, teach me how to fish. However, many people just want to get the fish, right? End of the month, I just wait for my salary, whether the business makes money or not, right? Number 3 is that you said when you grow your capacity and your capability, what happens is that magic happens. And number 4, you talked about like entrepreneurship is not all about startup. It's all about, hey, I want to have my own startup, I have my own business, right? It's about value. So I want to take you to the next point, right? People think that because I know you very well, and by the way, I'm one of the people that decode Bunmi. So I have code for working with Bunmi. I have that code very well. So I help many managers to work with Bunmi. I know Bunmi because Bunmi is a rainbow. To you, you are seeing green. Somebody else is seeing red. And somebody will be arguing that Bunmi is green. Somebody else will say Bunmi is red. And side side. Bunmi can, and how do I explain it? I stay with Bunmi sometimes. Maybe I go to Bunmi's house and Bunmi has woken up very early, right? And I chat Bunmi up, Bunmi has responded to me right away. You send a message to Bunmi does not spend more than 30 minutes, is responding to you right away. And this thing is just crazy. Like sometimes Bunmi can be on your head. People think entrepreneurship is, I leave 9 to 5 job, so I have less time, right? Can you please talk about this side of entrepreneurship that people don't talk about. People talk about it a lot. It's all about freedom for yourself, People forget that when you're an entrepreneur, you are an employee of the customer. So you are the beck and call of the customer, right? So, and the customer wants 24 hours. So what is the life of an entrepreneur, particularly in an African startup, right? What exactly it is for you? Because people look at, Flutterwave raised $200 million. People look at, this company raised $20 million. People forget that when you raise, you are owing money. The people jubilate that you're raising money, right? I remember one day Bunmi said, guys, don't jubilate that you raise money. Take note, you're owing somebody money, right? So what is it for you about this entrepreneurship to let everybody in this room know that from the horse's mouth that, guys, it is not a freedom from 9 to 5. It is you actually giving away your freedom and signing it out completely for life. So can you just talk about that with your experience?
Yeah, no, thanks, Diamond, for that. It's very profound when I think about this. I almost think about startups. When you become a startup founder, like true, and if you really want to be successful, the mindset you have to have is that we're going on a mission and I'm the mission captain. It's almost like you're going to space. Anytime you have an astronaut going to space, they're thinking, okay, I may never come back, right? Another analogy I might use is like Jesus Christ, right? When Jesus Christ came, it's like, okay, I'm coming to take everybody like to the promised land, and I know that I'm putting my life on the line for this mission. So I think that when people think about, entrepreneurship and startups and fundraising, it looks really, really exotic. But I can tell you, as somebody who has started at least 15 companies, as somebody who has invested in 50 companies, more than 50 companies, in Africa, as somebody who have met a lot of successful people, like the most successful people you can think about, on the continent, one thing is very, very, very clear, is that when you decide that a startup is what you want to do, right? It's a life calling. It's more like, hey, I'm giving up 10 to 20 years of my life. Nothing else is going to be as important. Not my family, not my parents, not my friends, not my social life, not work-life balance, there is nothing like balance when you decide to go on this journey. That is number one. I always tell this story. There is like 2 times in America when I joined Artemis. And this was an interesting story. I joined as an employee, my second week in Michigan. I essentially looked in the phone book and I just went from all the computer companies, started visiting each one. The second one I visited, or third one, I walked in and it was a startup, like this, 3 white guys. And this is Black African guy that just shows up from nowhere. And I just walked in, I say, hey guys, here's my CV, looking for a job. I just came into Michigan. I'm about to start school at Michigan State University, but I have experience coding. And then I showed them all the things that I've worked on in Nigeria. I showed them the code. And that speaks to also always having your portfolio. That speaks to, always, building stuff and being able to show off what you do. Don't talk about, I can do this, I can do that. Show, right? Very, very important principle. So I showed them some of my code. I opened up, some of those things. And then literally in 2 hours, they're like, hey, come and join us. Come and join, you can start tomorrow. That's how I got employed. Fast forward 2.5 years later, I had graduated from university by then. And then they're like, you create so much value for us and you don't focus so much on money. And they're like, we want you to become a part owner of the company. These are like, blue-eyed, blonde hair guys, Americans, never interacted with Africa before. But I created value. I worked like an owner. I worked like an entrepreneur. And essentially that came. I became an entrepreneur and I ended up essentially owning, an equal part of the company over time by creating value. But one of the things that is so interesting in the US especially is the fact that twice a month, the payroll is twice a month in the US, the 16th and the 31st. And it's all auto debit, direct debit. The day that amount for salary hits your account as a business owner, it must be successful so that everybody gets paid. Otherwise, police can show up on your door. It is not a joke. It is not like, in Nigeria, you can still say, hey, 1-2 months, hey guys, we're still trying to make money. Like, police can show up at your door. So think about the responsibility that comes when you have 10 employees. 10 employees might be costing you almost like $500,000 a year. 100 employees might be costing you $5 million a year. So it is incredible, the responsibility that comes when you decide to start a business, right? And of course, at some point you have to raise funding, or you may have to raise funding, depending on the type of business you're building, which comes with another set of responsibility. I raised $20 million in 2015, right? And I can tell you that's a story for another day. The burden on my chest, everybody was, this was one of the biggest capital raise other than Iroko TV and Konga and Jumia back then. We were somewhere around number 4, number 5 in terms of the biggest capital raise in 2015. But it's like a loan. It's like what they call bese on your neck. Until the day, and when somebody gives you $20 million, it means that they're expecting $80 million from you back. Right? And until that comes, the responsibility and burdens on top of you. So you have 3 burdens when you choose that path. Number 1 is your customers. Because like Diamond said, if you don't wake up in the middle of the night to make them happy and create value, you will never create value for yourself. Number 2, the employees that you made a promise, right? That if they join you on this mission, think about that astronaut, think about Jesus Christ. Those employees that join you on that mission, you made a promise to them. You have to fulfill that promise. It means that they need to grow. It means that they need to make more income. It means that on the day of payday, that obligation must be fulfilled. And then thirdly, if you raise capital, the people that gave you that capital borrowed it from somewhere else. It is basically on your neck. Those are the 3 responsibilities that go around with you and is on your neck every single day, day and night, over and over and over again. And there's some people who are called for this, right? There's some people that this is what they're born to do. And fantastic to those people. We need to find those people, and we all need to surround ourselves and surround them with the support they need to be successful, because the more incredible talent that such an entrepreneur that is the alignment for their lives, the more talented people they have around them, the more they're going to be successful. And when they're successful, all the people around them, their key employees, their key loyal employees, the people that supported them, the investors, the more those people will be successful.
Yeah, thank you very much, Bunmi, for actually distilling that. And I really want you guys to pay a lot of attention to what Bunmi was saying. And I want to just recap some of them. Bunmi said something, like I told you guys, let me tell you, when Bunmi speak, like I remember when I was telling you about something that Bunmi said, yeah, when companies are raising money, don't be too excited. Yeah, it's a good news, but keep it in mind, that's the debt that you are owing somebody. Somebody is leaning forward for you. And Bunmi said something again, and I always pick something new, right, from Bunmi. Bunmi said something that startup journey is a lifelong journey. And he said something that resonates a lot with me. And he said, you sacrifice everything. There's something click in my mind. There's a difference between you lose everything, right, compared to you sacrifice everything. I'll give an instance. There are times that Bunmi have to fly to Kenya. In fact, I don't even know, maybe Bunmi must have flown the last 2 days now. Sometimes I just lose count of where Bunmi is. Bunmi will fly to Kenya. In the next day, Bunmi is in Dubai. Another day, Bunmi will call me and say, Diamond, I'm in London now. Can you just catch me up this evening? And yesterday, he just spoke to Bunmi. Bunmi was in Dubai. And you don't ask a question, Bunmi, where's your family? Where's your wife? Where are your kids? Right? And it's that point of the sacrifice. I've said something, right? Like guys, not everyone is called for it, right? Not everyone is called to be Messi. Not everyone is called to be Ronaldo, right? There are some players that are players. These ones are players, right? And you just can't be everything, right? And Bunmi just talked about that one. The second thing we mentioned is what opened doors for him. Bunmi said, show them everything. He said he showed them everything he has worked on. And it comes back to what we talked about again and again. When many of you post something online, Bunmi looks at it, somebody sees what you are posting online. It is not what you say. And Bunmi said, don't talk about what you can do. Show it, right? Show it right away. Just show it. Tell us that this is what I have done before, not like have a potential of doing it. We want to see what you have done, no matter how small it is. Then it tells me about me now leaning forward, right, for you, which really makes sense. And you remember, I tell you about this one all the time. Nobody wants to hear your labor pain. People want to see your baby, right? Because that's actually where value actually is. So, Bunmi, next point that I want to ask you, and thank you very much for being expressing interesting. You are covering like some of the other questions that we want to talk about, right? So, Bunmi, I know you have lost count because I'm sure that in the last 6 months, I've been involved in more than like maybe 6 companies that we're trying to build, maybe almost like 10 now that we're trying to build. So you telling me you have 15. Today, I know more than 15 already for businesses that we have. I'm sure you have lost count. You were asking us yesterday, how many products do we have? You don't even have an answer anymore. I remember in the town hall meeting yesterday, you were asking us 2 days ago, you were asking us questions. And I was telling somebody that Bunmi does not even know the numbers again because there are too many weird people working around Bunmi building a lot of solutions for me. So he cannot even understand how many that he has. So for me, the question here is that tell us, and everybody wants to hear you, when was the first time that you made your first $1 million? And which product was it? And how was the journey? The pain, the pleasure, the sacrifice, the value, everything, right? And this one, take your time, right? Take your time on this one, right? On how did you make your first $1 million? Where was that? What was the product? What was the journey like? And how did you feel afterwards? And how did you feel during that period? What was the impostor syndrome that you had? Because many people are here, and many times you feel like, I think I'm not good enough. I think I'm not good enough. They're still thinking within themselves. What were the inner thoughts that entrepreneurs don't come to share out there? Did you have fears? What were your fears? How did you overcome your fears? And this one, you have time. Because this one, they really want to hear that story. How did you take this idea? Remember, the series is all about making idea, making it like a viable business, taking to the market. I don't want to talk about Garden Academy story in this case. Maybe I'll share with people how this idea just started right away and we are now where we are today. So talk about your first $1 million. What was it? And take us to the journey. Thank you.
Oh man, this is going down memory lane. Yeah. I have to think. So basically, I think the first $1 million.
Bunmi, this is the feeling when you have made too many $1 million. When you have made too many, like it's like somebody asking me, how many times have you received money more than $1 million naira? I would just look like, which one was the first one? I just can't remember again.
The interesting thing about life is that, as an entrepreneur, as a true entrepreneur, you actually realize that the money is not the thing, is when, it's probably almost like a gambler, right? Like, you get it and then like you put it all back in. So at some point the lines blur in terms of like, did you just make $1 million or not? Because like you go for the next bet as well, because it's really not about the money. It's really about like that creating value and you feel like you can create bigger value. You can create a bigger value. And then you know that ultimately there will come a time when the real impact is achieved, right? And then you can say, hey, yeah, we've done this, mission accomplished, right? So in a way, but I think it was probably around, I'm gonna guess somewhere around 2002 or 2003 or 2004, somewhere around there. Because I remember that I joined Artemis as just an employee in 2008. Sorry. 1998. 1998. I joined Artemis in 1998. And so I think the first $1 million was around 2002. Yeah, around 2002. So 4 years later. And what was the product back then? At the time, we were doing, we wrote a software for DNA testing, paternity testing. We're solving a problem, a major problem in the US back then. And the problem was that essentially a man will get a woman impregnated, right? And the one will have a baby. And then of course the man will move on. But the woman has to stay with the kid and take care of the kid, and the dad kind of, goes away. So anyway, the US passed a law that says that if you're a man and you get a woman pregnant and the court identifies accurately, essentially every employer in America is authorized to do an auto debit on your salary to pay for child support and give it to the woman to take care of the kid, or give it to the grandparents to take care of the kid. Automatic debit. So now imagine that kind of law now creates an opportunity for the scientists to create a highly efficient process for testing, a very fast, efficient, and accurate process for testing. You take a little swab, right? From the child, from the mom, from the dad, and use that to do the test. Essentially, a bunch of scientists in Michigan came up with the solution and the labs and the testing and those type of things to be able to do this in 24 hours. So myself, John Gilkey, and then David, who was the second co-founder. So there were two co-founders. I joined later on. But like I said, I became a co-founder because I just created value. So we built software for this, essentially. And then about 20 different states in America then started to, contract us, essentially. So essentially, that's what we built. So what's the lesson here? Sometimes regulation creates opportunities. A lot of times, just be a good employee. Diamond knows this. There's several, probably getting close to 10 of our staff that were rock stars when they worked for us at Venture Garden Group. When they decide to quit and go and start a startup, and they say, hey, I'm on this mission, we knew that this person will be successful on this mission because they were a good employee, and we back them, we fund them. There's no due diligence on that one. We say, how much do you need? $100,000, here it is. So, and I learned this because I was once a staff. I knew my mindset, and the other founders gave me the opportunity. They gave me equity in the company. And so that was the first thing we created, brought a few people together, built the solution, and essentially we sold it. At the end of the day, we could have sold it for a lot of money. We actually sold it for peanuts. And then immediately we just took it and we used it to hire a bunch of new people to build a new product. So yes, it was $1 million. Then it became zero the next day because we just doubled down again like a gambler. So, but at the end of the day as well, I was the only Black person in the company. I was the only minority, in the whole town. There's not a lot of Black people there. When you go into a meeting, and this is something that we don't value a lot when we're in Nigeria, right? When you're in Nigeria, hey, we're all Black, right? So, but when you're there, you actually have low confidence, right? Because the moment you walk into every meeting, you walk into a meeting with customers. I remember this insurance company, in Michigan, Auto Owners Insurance. I walked in, introduced myself with my team members, and there's 5 other people on my team. Everybody is white. Everybody is I'm the only Black guy. Of course, have an accent, So of course they'll greet you and say, hi, what's your name? Bunmi. Bunmi. So that's another story for another day. Then they're like, okay, you speak English. where are you from? You actually speak English. And you're just like, man, like, it's just so insulting. And then, and then after they're like, okay, everybody introduce yourself. And, and of course, they're already coming from a standpoint that, this is the secretary that came to take notes, just follow them. And then the other guys are now introduced, and I usually do this on purpose. Like, the other guys will introduce me. This is our boss. This is the, vice president of Artemis. And then the people now, I just watch their expression, how they shake up and like, okay, and I'll just like smile inside. But of course, it gives you pain that why must I feel like, like I'm a second-class citizen? Why must I feel like I am the slave in this room? Why must I, and then it affects your confidence as well. Like, am I good enough? Can I actually build a big company? Can I build a company that's big? Or was this one by accident that, this guy's already built it and I just came as a third wheeler, so those type of things affect your confidence. And then, one day, 10 years later, we grew it, we did a lot of interesting things, but 10 years later, I was like, hey guys, I'm out. I'm going to Africa. I'm going to go start all over again from scratch. And by the way, we're going to build this company in Nigeria, in Africa. I had the opportunity to bring my co-founders, and I'm sure that I would have built Venture Garden Group faster, maybe half the time that it took if I brought some of my white co-founders, right? Because of course, how Nigeria is. They worship white people. You bring white people into a meeting, we will close deals faster. It would have been shorter, but I was clear. We're going to build this company without one white person coming in. It must be built by Africans for Africa. And again, I had incredible co-founders. John Gilkey is awesome. He gave me my first job. He was my first boss. He became my co-founder. We built everything together. Everything I founded in the US, we did together. But I said, hey, no, John is not coming on this journey. It's just going to be Africans for Africa by Africans. Because can we do it? Do these white people actually have two heads? And I think, looking back, we didn't do too badly. Like Diamond said, I don't know, we've created 10, 15, 20 companies internally that we started from scratch, idea to company. I think in the last 3 weeks, we probably created another 2. We invested in about 50 companies. One of the first companies we invested in is Flutterwave, the largest unicorn in Africa, $3 billion valuation. We invested in them before, they came to us. I met Benga, I met before the company was incorporated. It's the largest unicorn in Africa. We have 5 Sunicorns. I call them Sunicorns. It means they're $100 million companies, but they're going to become unicorns very, very soon. We'll probably have 5 or 6 of them. So we've seen it. And we did this all with Africans, right? So we can do it. We're not inferior.
Yeah. Okay, but thank you very much. And I like the fact that I think you're sharing some part of the story. And I like the fact that you're talking about some things that you don't get to even share outside, And I think I also share the same thing with you guys about this particular impostor syndrome. And I like the fact that you talked about them, right? You are a VP of a company and you still go out there and somebody still make you feel very inferior because of the choice you did not make. You didn't make the choice of your skin, right? You didn't make the choice of your sex, right? Nature made that choice for you. You didn't make the choice of when you were born, right? And those things now started working against you. However, the odds were against you. However, you pushed through. And I think that's the point, right? I like the fact that you accepted it. Some people will come and tell you and say, you need to live above them, forget about it. And I love the fact that you show the emotions that, and I think it still looks real to you, right? That I went through this. This still looks real to you. I could see that emotion in your eyes. So it means that we will feel those kind of a thing, right? We can't take them away, right? I remember that when we were having a meeting 2 years ago about strategic decision about Venture Garden Group and the likes. And in our research, we realized that the same company in Nigeria is valued $100 million. When the same company changed location alone, and this company is a US company, we saw that the X is 20X. I know that you can remember that conversation, right? Guys, let me explain to you. It's the same company, generating the same revenue, the same number of customer base, the same leadership. If that same company is worth $100 million in Nigeria, if you take the same company to US today and it's a US startup, that company will be worth $2 billion, $2 million. That is 20x of the one in Nigeria, which means that for you to compete with your counterpart in US, you have to do 20 times more, right? And the reason is not because you are not delivering value. The reason is that the odds are against you. However, these are facts. However, Flutterwave went to the $3 billion, right? Which means that I see no escape, right? You still need to push through and do something about it. And it goes to everybody here and say, guys, this imposter syndrome will come at you. It could come from anybody. It could come from the environment. It could come from where you're coming from. It could come from your accent. It doesn't matter at all in any way. Just make sure you focus on your value. I want to give a student a privilege. Somebody dropped a question here, right? And I want to read that question to you, Bunmi. Thank you very much for bringing that in. And I think I really like that a lot, right? And for me, I pick another word out. You know, what I pick out is, you know, you being clear with the goal, and you said something that I want to like rephrase it. Somebody said, imposter syndrome is a bastard, okay? I can understand how this can feel. Trust me, I think I spent some time to talk about it in Garden Academy, imposter syndrome, and I said, guys, go out and I think we must have seen all of our students posting what they are doing out there every day. The reason is that, guys, just go out there and do it. Just go and do it, right? And I want to say it again. I think this one resonates with me in this whole conversation. African, by Africans, through Africans for the world, right? And I think we've been able to do that, and we are doing that, and we can always do that more, right? Something that is done by African, through Africans, right? But however, the world prefers it, right? Made in Africa, but preferred by the world. I think that resonates like a lot with me. Somebody asked a question, Heyo asked a question. Heyo said, Bunmi, please, we don't use Mr. You know, like in our conversation, you can see me calling Bunmi. This is where we have the conversation. So when you put Mr., it's not a sign of respect, you know, from our client, right? That's the way it works. So Bunmi, we just have a conversation, it's just Bunmi right away. So good morning, Bunmi. What would you advise young minds who have startup ideas? And by the way, Bunmi, many of them have also come around, they have some ideas to work on, and you have seen this many, many times, right? So, but are faced with the challenge of how to come past just having an idea, but how do we translate this idea to life? What are the crucial steps to take at the early phase of bearing a business idea? So imagine many of them, while we are taking them through the class, they have a lot of things that are running through their mind. Like now, one of them sent me something yesterday, some group of BA guys, they came together, they have an idea. And one of them shared the business canvas with me. Then I would look at it, and in like 10 minutes, I got the idea of the business. And I responded back to the guy and I said, this really makes sense. Like, you gave me a business canvas and I could understand the business you are trying to push. This means you really understood this class very well. Okay, makes sense. Now, how can they take this idea, right, and get it to the market and even test it? I know not all ideas will get successfully to the market, but how can they test this idea and advise?
Yes, absolutely. I think, this is something that a lot of, people talk about, right? But I think when it comes to taking an idea to market, right, there are essentially 4 things that are important. The first thing is the idea, right? And by the way, anyway, 4 things: the idea. Secondly, the product. Thirdly, the team. And fourthly, execution, right? Now, if you divide that by 4, it means that each one will be 25%, worth 25% in terms of like getting this out there. But in reality, it is not. The idea is not 25%. The idea might be like 5%. And that might be shocking. Again, I could talk 30 minutes about that. But the idea, that's why I don't believe in confidentiality of ideas, like ever. I've always like shared the ideas. Like if I have a company idea, I will share it with everybody because it's not the idea that's different. Execution is like 10 times harder than anything else. 10 times harder, maybe 100 times harder. So execution, and then that ties back to team, which also ties back to product. Now, let me talk about product for a second. Product, getting the product right is so important, and building something that people love is very important. Now, of course, building the right product takes a long time and everything like that. So the concept of MVP is really important, right? So how do you take a product to market? Build an MVP, right? Test it in the market as fast as possible. And the beauty of the people in this room and the training that Guardian Academy has given you is that, you know, the ability to build a business model canvas very fast, the ability to do market research, the ability to do customer personas and map out user journeys and those type of things is exceptionally important, right? The ability to do a pitch deck and so on and so forth. On the other hand, the ability to, and by the way, the people that know how to do that well, that know how to do it fast, you know, that have learned this from Guardian Academy, Diamond, Mario, I'm going to come and talk to you guys because the best 2 or 3 people, I want to hire them, by the way, to work on my team. So I'm just pre-negotiating as well. That's why I'm coming to take this class today. So on the other hand, you also have the people that can
Bumi, hold on. Guys, you know I told you what Bumi does. Before we bring in too many things, I can tell you this, guys. Let me tell you something. I will come back to announce to you the 2 people that Bumi will take. I know Bumi very well. And I will come back to that story, how we built a product design team, which is now turning very big, bigger than what we even talked about at the beginning. And Bumi have talked about it. Trust me, 2 people here are going to be working with Bumi in, like, I won't even say weeks. When Bumi is talking about something, just know that Bumi is already 5 years into that thing. So Bumi will be chatting us on Monday and say, guys, I thought, where were the guys? I want to have a meeting with them. I can bet with you on that. So that is going to happen. And Bumi knows what he's saying. And I will show you some of ideas that we have today that Bumi have dumped on our table that I'm working with Bumi. I will talk about that one later on. So please take note of something that Bumi is dropping, right? And it's actually a lot. And I'm so happy that Bumi is so also excited about it. And I'm talking about Bumi's passion for product design and PAs. Bumi has one, I don't know if Bumi get that passion from. Bumi will say, can you look for me this? I don't think you guys understand what BA is. Like, Bumi knows. You can see Bumi has developed many products in the past. He has coded many products. Bumi is still telling you about business canvas, persona, user journey. And this is what he taught you. He tells you that this is what entrepreneurs out there want to hear you talk about. So they are not theory, they are real. Bumi, thank you very much. And no problem, we'll charge you. You know the way we work. We'll charge you
no
for
problem.
it. Yeah, thank you very much. Continue.
So anyway, so the product is really important. Build a product that customers want. You guys have what it takes, at least to get that MVP, even if it's a Figma design with click-throughs, right? You know, and then of course the team. Building a company is not a one-man show. In fact, I do not invest in companies that have like one person, even 2 people. I'm looking for co-founding teams of like 3 people and up, because the process of birthing a company is so complicated that the chances of it dying is very high when it's just one person, right? So at the end of the day, I'm looking for, 3 people is ideal, and 3 incredible rock stars who are saying they want to dedicate 10 to 20 years of their life to this mission. It increases the chances of it being success. So that goes to team. And then execution goes to, this is where the rubber meets the road. Execution is where the boys and the men are separated, right? So execution by itself takes the biggest portion. And what does it mean? Execution means that are these the people that follow through on everything they say? Are these people that show up on time when we say we're going to have a meeting? Are these people that when they drop their first product to their customer, and the customer said, tweak this. Are they able to be open and honest and direct with the customer? And they say, okay, don't worry, I'll fix it. Oga, I'll fix it. Don't worry, give me 1 week. 7 days after that, did they come back with a fix? Let's say things went bad and they did not have a fix. Did they come back on the 6th day and say, I'm sorry, we couldn't get it done in the 7 days we promised you. Can you give us 4 more days to deliver it? Or on the 10th day, does the customer ask them and say, Oga, you said you will give this to me in 7 days. I didn't hear back from you. When failure comes and the rock star person that was going to deliver that thing, for you, quits, he didn't get it done. Are these the people that stay up at night 2 days in a row, 0 sleep, just because they have made a promise? That is execution. That's where rubber meets the road. That is where everything is. So going back to the 4 things I said, right? The idea, the product, the team, execution. I did 25% each? No. Execution by self is probably 50% by itself. The idea is 5%. Divide the rest between product and team however you wish to. And then the last point I'm going to make is, how do you take the product to market? Like that product, building the product that customers love. It is very hard to do, but at the same time, I think if you bring enough analysts and product designers into a room, you can actually test any idea. You can take it to the market. You can Figma it. You can literally put it in front of a customer. You can literally go to every shop in Lagos and tell people to try it out. I say, would you like this? Would it solve your problem? Would you pay for it? Would you love it? And at the end of, and I'll tell you a story. It's a story of Helium Health. When they came to me, so Goke, Tito, Dimeji, and the rest of the team, 4 co-founders, they came to me. They said they want to solve healthcare problems in Nigeria. I said, okay. This one of them just moved back from America. This other one, has been in Nigeria. This other one is okay. These are this 19, 20-year-old, guys. This was probably 5 years ago. And I was like, okay, all right, fantastic. They said, okay, you guys want to automate all the hospitals, in Nigeria, and this is fantastic. I've built a medical records, company before. That's another one that I did before in my past life. So I said, what have you guys done? And then they now told me that the first thing they did was that they visited all the states in Nigeria, state by state. They went into the hospital and studied what was wrong. I said, okay. I said, no problem. I'll give you guys money. But before I do, back then, my wife worked for a cancer hospital clinic in Lagos. So I told my wife, can you just please tell your boss that they should adopt Helium Health, and then, by the way, these guys didn't have a full product by then. So I made the introduction, and then they took their prototype to meet with my wife and her boss, and to say, hey, we have this thing. So essentially, I made my decision to give them, I don't remember, $100,000 or $200,000 or so, based on 3 things. 1, I saw a solid co-founding team that's diverse, right? I don't know if they're solid or not at the time because I just met them. 2, I smelled execution. They went and visited every state in Nigeria. 3, the prototype, I sent them to my wife and I was asking, how did they do? Did they follow up? When you call them, do they pick up? When they promise, the execution is what I'm measuring there. And then I give them the money. So $100,000 or $200,000, I don't remember. Back then, valuation was probably, what was the valuation then? The valuation was probably $3 million or so. So we probably invested for like 1% or 2% of the company. Today, they're worth $100 million. They're one of those unicorns, 3 years later. That's a real story. It's a real life story. So this thing is not theoretical. This is what I do every day.
Okay. Bunmi, I think, like one of the things I posted on my LinkedIn page actually is that this is like MBA in a box. I know that you have always desired this, right? You remember like saying, guys, can we just put all this our knowledge together in a room and it's coming to life? And Bunmi has always had a desire for that, right? That's MBA in a box. For example, you distilling that, and I think we need to have like infograph of that, the idea, the product, the team, the execution, and the go-to-market strategy. And Bunmi have shared I call it my 5 pillars. I think I will just take this one to the market and start selling it and make a full class of this one with a real life example of your case study. I think the case study really talk about that, right? There's a part I want you to talk about, right, which is linked to what these guys are going to be doing in the coming next 4 weeks that I shared with you to work on a real life project. You said something about this company. Their valuation was $3 million, and you said they were not even making money, right? They've not even started getting customers there. I don't think many of the guys understand when you say somebody has like a prototype, because what these guys are going to be working on in their project is to take a business from idea and show me an MVP that an investor can look at. An investor can look at the screen in pictures and see how everything will be. Understand? Do UX research, do market research, put everything together in a document, show them the user journey on a prototype, high fidelity prototype, and all that is needed is just to get developer, get money, get developer, produce it and get to the market. Your people think until you start bringing the product to the customer, you can't raise funds, right? Until you start getting engineers together to develop, you can't raise funds. And I think I want to talk about that part of why MVP is very key, right? Why it's a big barrier to many people today. That many people today, they talk about this idea. And I like the fact that you said it's only 5%. Everybody can have idea. For example, today there is Zoom, there's Microsoft Teams, right? It's an idea. Why can't somebody just take it and create their own Microsoft team right away? So I like the way you talk about it. My friend, your idea is not proprietary to you. A lot of people have idea. It's about this execution, right? And that talks about the part of building an MVP. And to build an MVP, you don't need more than a product designer and a business analyst. Your finance does not even come in at this point, right? So I want you to now go down, right, on deliverable. So Bunmi, I have a startup idea, which these guys are going to be working on. We're taking money from you. And guys, will not tell you who is sponsoring any projects. It is when we are signing to the project, we tell you the sponsor, so you are not biased. Some of these projects are for me, some of them are myself, some of them are some of our business managers, our independent companies, right, that we are bringing to you. So Bunmi, we have these guys, business analysts and product designers, that are going to be working together to bring an idea to you as an investor, and they want to show you MVP. What are the critical deliverables that they will present to you and show you? And please, everybody should take note of this. Is not an academic class. What are the documents you saw? What are the deliverables you saw that made you feel like Helium Health is good to go? From a BA point of view, from a product designer point of view, what are the specific deliverables that you saw and you felt like, I can picture where this guy is going, and we're already good to go, apart from the people side?
Yeah, I think there's no science to it. Yeah. Per se, there's no science to it because it depends on the market, depends on what you're building, it depends on whatever. But I think the key thing is to concentrate on this idea that I have, how can I demonstrate that it is going to win in the market, right? And work backwards from there. So start with the end in mind. So that's number one. So depending on the industry, depending on the market, the consumer product, whatever, how can I convince, what are the artifacts that I need to use to convince somebody that is going to win? And what does winning mean? Winning means that I know who I'm selling it to. That person I'm selling it to, whether it's consumer or business, B2B or consumer focused, has a pain point that's verified. They're willing to pay for it, right? And it can scale to something meaningful, right? So that's what that comes down to. The question is, what artifact do you need to do to convince me that you have de-risked those things without necessarily having built the product fully end-to-end to completion? That's the problem statement. So what that looks like can vary depending on the market, depending on the product, and so on and so forth. But it could be things like, here's the website for the company, and here's the prototype that is doing just the most basic aspect of this, right? It could be, this is the pitch deck. It could be, this is, like I said, a mini MVP, a mini scrappy MVP. Here's how it's going to work. So like I said, I think it just varies across board. Sometimes it's website, sometimes it's prototype, sometimes it's Figma walkthrough, sometimes it's the market research, sometimes it's signed agreements, signed LOIs from 10 customers. Here is 10 LOIs. I showed these 10 customers this Figma site, and they gave me this letter of intent that when this thing is built, I'll buy it. Sometimes that's what it is. Sometimes it's a waiting list. It's a website that's selling something that doesn't exist already, right? And you already have used social network, Instagram, Facebook, and everything like that to sell the concept. But then they don't actually sign up to start using the app, but they sign up to a waiting list. And you show me a waiting list that's growing by 50 people every single day for this idea. So you see, I could go on, but I don't want to be prescriptive because it comes down to your own imagination. And in fact, that is part of the test, to say, convince me that this is a viable idea. Of course, I know that in 2 months or a month or something, you can't build the product fully, but what else can you do that is as close as possible to that shows that it's a winning idea?
Okay, thank you very much. Interesting, Bunmi, like you are MBA in the box. So for me, I put it in 4 P's, right? And I call it the people. Who are you selling it to? That is your customer. Number 2, I call it the pain. What are their pain points? Because they need an emotion for them to buy from me. Number 3, I call it pay. Are they willing to pay for it? Not just like it. Are they willing to pay for it? And number 4, I talk about prospective profit. Can it scale, right? And for me, I think I've created another session entirely on that. So, which means that everybody here, as you are working on your project going forward, Bunmi has talked about it. You need to look for what are the artifacts that you need to have to convince anybody that this particular product is going to sell in the market. And what do you look out for? These 4 P's, the people you are going to sell it to, right? Do you know them? Do you understand them? And I want to ask everybody, like, for example, how do I know people I'm selling it to? And the BAs will give you an answer on that, right? How do you know their pain points? You know what you need to do to understand their pain points. How do I know they're going to pay for it, right? How do I go into the market? Do you have competitors? How much are they making? What is their revenue size? Are they making profit or not? Then the part of the profit, right? What is the perspective, right? Is it just a one-time business or a business that will keep on making money like forever? Like I can scale it up from there, right? Bunmi, thank you very much for that. So somebody I want to ask a question. How many hours do you sleep? And how do you balance work and what? Bunmi is looking. I want it. Okay. And so how many hours do you sleep? And how do you get to balance work and other aspects of life? I know the answer, but it's good that you share your own personal side. Actually, this is Bunmi now, right? This is Bunmi. How many hours do you sleep? And how do you get to balance your life? What do you do in your leisure time? So they would like to know.
That's a tough question. That's a tough question. I mean, how many hours you sleep? I mean, it's like,
can you say, that question is advised, right?
What did you say?
I said, listener, discretion is advised, right? For me now.
I don't want to encourage bad habits.
Yeah, but just say, this is you yourself now. So how many hours do you sleep and what do you do on your leisure time?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe probably 4 hours, 5 hours, when I'm lucky, but there are also bad days that it's just really, really bad. I try to catch up on weekends a little bit and sleep a lot more. Try to get maybe 6-7 hours just to catch up and replenish over the weekend. And sometimes that just doesn't exist. Again, like I said, it's a mission. But it's not healthy either. But that's just like what it takes because you have to give all that it takes. What else do I do at my leisure? Like, not much. Not much. It's like there's not enough time for it. Like, it is just hard. It is like really, 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 really hard. I mean, of course, I try, and I really deliberately say, hey, okay, this quarter, let's try and get like one movie in, and sometimes it's hard because the time you want to do the movie, because I like movies, you just realize that that's the only time that it takes to sleep. And so, 10 minutes into the movie, you're asleep. But that said, it's not healthy to go, very, very, very long periods with this. And of course, it takes a toll on the family, right? So, I mean, I think the best people to ask this question is actually either my kids or my wife, and you'll get the true answer. But it's a sacrifice, and they know that we're on a mission. And they know that at some point in the mission, there will be an opportunity to slow down, a little bit, and then we'll kind of enjoy it. But the truth of the matter is that it is a sacrifice, and somebody has to make that sacrifice in every mission. Somebody has to be ready to put their lives on the line. If you really, 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 if you're in a startup and you don't see that, then you should be worried. Right? And then if you're trying to start a startup and you're not willing to be that, or you're not willing to surround yourself with 2 or 3 other co-founders that want to be that, you should be worried. So that's sort of how I see things. It is hard work, but it's very rewarding as well when you solve a problem. And like I said, money and those type of things, fame will come later. That's not the focus.
Thank you very much, Bunmi. I like the fact that you are displaying it directly out to the guys. So I will ask you the next question, then we'll take a break, then we'll come back, then we'll cap it up. But during the break, what I want to give you an opportunity to do is that if you now have specific questions for Bunmi, then you can drop them in the chat box, and I will come back and take them. Then we'll wrap up the whole session. Then we will now take our own part and we close up this whole session. But we thank you very much so far for laying it as bare as possible. Of course, I've seen you many times speak to employees, talk to different places, but I think you're sharing more personal things here that I'm sure that even people in VGG have not even heard this way, because sometimes as a CEO, you don't want to say some things because of Twitter stories and but somebody come back and say, we sleep 4 hours, telling people not to sleep 4 hours and right? Those kind of stuff, right? I can understand that, but I think you are very clear about it. It's all about the choice of the mission, what you are trying to achieve. For example, one of the players I follow most, right? Pardon me talking about football, I used to follow Messi very well, and I'm never a fan of comparing Messi and so now I'm never a fan. So I used to follow Messi very well before. Then one day I watched a documentary about Ronaldo and his life and his discipline. For example, it doesn't take anything soda. It takes only water. There are some kind of food he never eat, and he's trying to instill it in his son, right? And when I watch that his life, and I feel like this guy does a lot, right? He does a lot for himself. At his age now, he's still playing active football, playing 90 minutes of football, right? Then I look at myself and I feel like, I'm sure that many players cannot do what he does. Even young players cannot do what he does today, right? And that tells you about why this guy is able to sustain himself at the level he is for a long period of time. I was watching a post yesterday about a guy called Ibrahimovic. He's a football player. Ibrahimovic played with a guy, he's a Ghanaian player, I think he's a Ghanaian player. Ibrahimovic played with that guy 20 years ago when he was 19 years. 20 years ago when he was 19 years, he played with a guy when he started playing football. Then guess what? Yesterday, that guy's son, right? That Ghanaian, I think it's a Ghanaian guy, that Ghanaian guy's son is playing with Ibrahimovic 20 years after on the same pitch. This same other guy that played with Ibrahimovic 20 years ago is long gone. Then I ask myself, how will a guy stay on top of his game for 20 years still playing football, right? And when you look at him in the exercise, doing some stuff, you just realize that, well, for me to be at this level, like it's not a magic, right? It's not a miracle. You just have to give it something. And I salute the fact that you told that line. I think it's a road less traveled, right? Because many times, I remember, let me say it jokingly, I remember one day, all the senior members, all the senior team went out, and we're having our retreat. Let's make a joke of me. We're having our retreat, and we felt like, oh, Diamond, I think we should take everybody out. Everybody should go out. Then all of us went out to go and catch fun. And Bunmi was with us. We were doing karaoke, and Bunmi told us to pick his phone. He was just sending email, and it's so interesting. Like this is what pumps Bunmi up. This is what makes Bunmi excited. And many times when Bunmi come to our meeting, Bunmi say, everybody give him feedback. I will just tell Bunmi, I will give you feedback. However, this thing about you, please don't drop it. I can talk about the rest, but this one don't drop it, because this one has taken us to where we are today, right? And it's so interesting. Now, my question to you, Bunmi, is that before we now take that break, right, is this. If you have the opportunity to go back in time and you want to apply a particular business insight that you know now, what business insight would that be? If you were to go back and you have to build this again, right? How long do you think it will take you to build what you have built for this period? How long do you think it will take you now? If you were to go back, you now turn to one of the guys in this room, I want to build it again. What are the things that you have learned? You now know that this thing forgets it. This thing is true. What is that business insight you have come to understand? And how long will it take you to build what you have built now? How long will it take you now? Thank you.
Tough question. That's a hard question. I have to really think about that one. I would say maybe back to team. Maybe if I was going to do it again, I will just really pay attention to and prioritize the chemistry of the team, chemistry and compatibility of the team, right? The chemistry, compatibility, and then the standards of the team. So if you all agree that this is like the standard, this is like the basic standard we're going to operate at, you make sure that everybody is at that minimum level of standard and not compromised, like zero compromise, and the chemistry of the team. And I think that will probably have reduced the build time, something that maybe took 10 to 15 years, maybe could have taken 5 to 7 years or 5 to 8 years. So I think that's the first one. The second one, I'm not sure if I would do it differently, actually, but for fun, maybe maybe I should just have brought some of those Oyibo guys and just reduce the headache in building. Maybe I'm not sure I would have done that. I don't think I would have done that anyway. But I feel like Africa takes a lot out of you in building. So much gray hair, so much headache, so much pain, so much that at the end of the day, it's just like in Kenya, right? How they say that, just add a few white people to your company and you can raise money very fast. Add a few white people to your company and, you can get customers very, very fast. It actually does work. But then, I'm not sure I will be able to beat my chest the way I can today that, no, we did this thing and we didn't have to.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think, it's so interesting. I think, for me, I'm convinced that this particular thing that you shared about how you take your ideas to the market looks like the highlight of this whole conversation, which is the idea, the product, the people, which is the team, the execution, and also the go-to-market strategy. Because when I look at the two things that you said you do again, you still mention the people again. So you are not sharing even something new. I think you are still explaining yourself based on what you have come to understand. And it looks like these five things you mentioned, maybe should be taught to startup entrepreneurs, co-founders, and say, guys, look at these five things. Maybe you are not even really put it in a framework, but I think it's now a framework. We need to have an infographic of this. I think it makes sense. That's number one. Number two, you still mentioned the place of the team, which is the co-founding team. And when we were talking the other time, you mentioned the team being diverse and the team having varying perspective. So I think that you still mentioned the point of, you think you could have brought in these white guys. I think it's not just that the guy is white. I think it's more on the diversity, right? Because when I see co-founders team and I see 3 males, I see 3 females, I see 2 males, I see 2 females, and I see one is a northerner, one went to Harvard, one went to OAU, one went to DLAG, one went to INSEAD. If I see an Indian among them, most likely I think I will buy more into such companies than a company that's 100% Nigerian. I think you have more experience than me on this one, right?
Yeah. No, yeah. I think you're right. You're right. If you and I like what you're doing. Basically, how do you abstract this to a set of fundamental principles, right? Yeah. That can be documented. And I think what it comes down to, you're absolutely right. It's about diversity of thoughts. It's about diversity of ideas. It's about, even the white, people that I mentioned, really it's just an abstraction of the fact that you have somebody that is local, that knows the local market, that knows that we have to manage things, that knows that we have to carry a bus to this place we're going, right? Which is important. Then you also have the guy that sees that as odd, that it shouldn't be, that it's no, things should work. So it's really about, and because of that moves you towards higher standards. When you go to the customer's perception of you, because they see the local that understands this is how we do things, this is how we are, and they also see the person that says higher standards, they gravitate more towards you at the foundational level. When you have a customer that's a woman, right, and you're an all-male team, right, do they see themselves? Do they feel the empathy? Do they have somebody that's going to be able to talk from a female standpoint, or a Christian and a Muslim, or a Northern and a... So diversity, I think, is of thoughts and ideas and personas that also creates the empathy for the customer, because everything you're doing at the end of the day is for the customer, right? I think is the fundamental principles that we're talking about when we talk about, black or white or co-founders and team and those type of things.
It's good to still have you around, right? We know that your time per hour is very expensive. If somebody made $1 million in 2002, when I was still in school trying to juggle White House in Ife, then I can imagine how much your per hour is worth now. So guys, can imagine the amount of money that you have in this room or sitting in front of you in terms of talent and also the value of time. So I'll just go to this question one by one, and thank you guys for dropping the question. And the first question that that somebody dropped here is, my question is, in the world of tech, does it mean that products are literally what turns out to become companies or startups? I think this person is asking sincere question, right? My question is, in the world of tech, does it mean that products is what you call companies or startup? Bunmi?
Yes, absolutely. I think that, well, obviously a company can be a product company or a service company, right? That's the truth of the matter. There are different types of companies: product companies, service companies. There's also different types of product companies. There are consumer product companies, and there are sort of B2B kind of corporate product companies. There's also different types of companies. There are companies that we call lifestyle businesses. There's companies that we will call almost like a, let me just call it self-sustaining business. So these are the types of businesses that usually don't require a lot of external capital. They're not designed for external capital. They're not designed for high scale. They're just designed to provide repeatable profit. And then there are startups, quote unquote, that are designed for, high growth, high scale venture capital. So I think it's important. And again, another day we can talk about those different types of companies and what they mean, because many people have an idea, but they don't categorize the idea right. And it is a big mistake. If you're building a lifestyle business and then you want to go and raise venture capital and you're using some of these other tools, it's like the wrong idea. So I think that's very important. But yes, to simplify it, a product is essentially a company. A viable product is essentially a company, especially if you think about it in a startup world.
Okay, thank you very much, Bunmi, for actually answering that question. Please just understand that at the end of the day, it's all about product. Some people even just call service company product company today. People just use product as now a big language. And like Bunmi normally coach us, Bunmi has let us know that there's a way tech companies or tech keys try to confuse you. You can hear Bunmi talking about Sunicon, right? We're very about unicorn. Bunmi came up with Sunicon. You are going to hear now one Apricon. You can hear many things. Take note, like the techies have a way of creating a lot of lingua, right, that will just help them to be able to communicate with themselves. So don't get confused. You might not need to know all of them. Some people call service company product company. Some people say, no, we're not product company, we are platform company, right? So there are many languages there, but all you just need to do is that ask them, what do you guys do? Then when they tell you what they do, then you can put them in any box, you put them in your head. I hope you asked a question here. He said, hi, Bunmi. So my question goes, how did you really know the right time to start Venture Garden Group in Nigeria? What was your assurance that the business would grow to what it is now? Please, this is coming from the angle of turning ideas into products. Thanks.
Oh, good question. Unfortunately, I don't have a direct answer to that. The truth of the matter is that there's no good time. There's no good time. There's no perfect time. There's no prescribed time. But at the same time, timing is extremely important. I'm sure I'm confusing you, but the truth of the matter is that there's no right time. There's no prescribed time. But at the same time, timing is one of the things that kill ideas or can make ideas. Bad timing is very, very, disastrous. So how did I know? In that case, I don't think that there was any prescribed timing. I think for me, it was just more like my personal time. Time was here to come to come and do something in Africa. So that's one. I think the second piece is that, you need to also look at the idea you're working on to be sure that the timing is right. So for example, if you look at like Jumia and Konga, at the time that they were, coming to Nigeria, there were challenges around logistics. There were challenges around payments. And one could argue that their inability to be successful at the time may really, really, really be about the readiness of those, that infrastructure wasn't ready then. as well as users were not ready at the same time, right? Because the user trust was low, people wanted cash on delivery, So I think timing is very important. Same thing with M-Pesa. Why did M-Pesa just go crazy? And basically everybody in Kenya has M-Pesa. Timing. They were there at the right time. There was a particular condition that meant that people needed to move money urgently. The infrastructure was available. So I think timing is a very, very tricky thing. I don't think you need to wait for, like, if you have the conviction to go on a mission, you should just go on that mission. But at the same time, you need to look at the idea and make sure that the timing for that idea is right.
Yeah, thank you very much, Bunmi, for that. So a few weeks ago, myself and my brother comes to me having a conversation, and I was trying to tell them, I think one of my team members gave me the Igbo version of that. And when I was talking about this thing, then I remember there was an Hausa proverb that my Hausa friend taught me sometimes ago, and there were two proverbs. I don't know them in Hausa, but I can say them in English. So my friend told me and said, Diamond, anytime you wake up is your morning. Anytime you wake up, it's your morning. So when you wake up, just say good morning and start your day. Don't ask yourself whether is it afternoon, is it night. Anytime you wake up is your morning. So what is the best time? Now, right? There's no other best time, is now. The second thing that my friend told me is that also an Hausa proverb. He said, anywhere your stomach faces is your front. So your stomach cannot face a place and call it your back, right? So anytime your stomach faces is your front. So how do you know it's the right thing? That's where you are facing. So a product is in your hand, just go ahead and get it done, right? You know, there are two things that came to my mind when Bunmi was talking. Zoom was there. People are using Zoom. Most of our parents don't even know what Zoom is until COVID came. People started knowing Zoom. Our kids started using Zoom. Some kids never knew what Zoom was ever before now. Not because Zoom marketed something special, but the situation came for them. There is one that is very interesting. There is a beer globally called Corona beer. It's so interesting that this beer was selling more during COVID-19 because it has the name Corona on it. Interesting. Only because the name is Corona, people were just drinking it for no reason. So the timing is what people will call luck. People will call it any other thing. However, it still does not take away the place of you doing the work itself. So that is just that there. Okay, so somebody asked this question, that is Jonathan. He said, in real life situation, please, I need more exposure on how the funding works for an existing business or startup. How is the funding money used? Because when people hear $200 million, people just feel like $200 million, don't convert it to Naira, and people feel like, oh, more, this guy have made it, right? They will just think like, these guys have made it. So how is the funding money used in the real scenario? The person's already asked you some of the question. Is it salary paid? Is it materials bought? Number one. Number two, how is the money used to turn up profit? Number three, when profit turn up, who get the bigger cut, the founder or the funder, if I may ask? I really want to know the details on how it works. What's the standard and what are the extra information too? I'm interested to know. I think you should answer that one first. Then I would not go. I think the person really like ask many questions there. I don't know whether you can go. You can also see it yourself, right? So maybe you can just help us answer that. How is the funding used? How is the funding used to turn up profit? And when profit comes, who get the bigger cut, the founder or the funder?
Yeah, so a good question. How is the money used? It depends. It depends on the company, but in an ideal world, most times, a funder will only give you money to achieve a specific thing, right? And it is on the basis of what you want to use it for and what the money will turn to in terms of profit that you have been given that money. And absolutely, most of the times, it is salaries for people, right? Or some kind of inventory or materials or equipment, right? That usually, that this goes into. But people is always like a big one, especially in a technology environment. People is usually the biggest. But in some other cases, let's say it's a fintech, they may also have regulatory related money that they need. And sometimes some of this money you just need to park somewhere, right? And give it to the regulator. That's another piece that people don't think about. Also, if it's a fintech that's doing lending, sometimes they need that money because that's what they lend to their end users. So if you have fair money, rent money, carbon, and so on and so forth, when you announce that you're raising money or trade depot, part of that money is actually just to on-lend to the end, users. So, and of course, it is in that breakdown of what you need the money for that the returns and the profit comes in. So you say, hey, I'm going to raise $10 million. I need $3 million, out of that, or $5 million out of that to pay people. Why? Because I'm going to hire, 20 people, right? So, and those numbers add up very quickly. And I'm going to need to pay them over 3 years or 4 years, right? So, so that's the other piece. And of course, these people that I'm hiring, they're going to help me to make this much money, right? In terms of profit. Now, when the profit comes, at the end of the day, the investor gets paid first. I said it earlier, raising money is not this milestone end all be all. The money goes into the pocket of the founder. Usually not. Usually the money has to go into the business has to turn up a profit, the investor has to get paid, and then the founder gets paid. Now, the founder gets paid through two routes. Number one, a founder is just like any other employee. If it's a professionally run company, the founder gets a salary, right? Maybe bonus, that's it. Everything else that comes to the founder comes only from the standpoint of we have made a profit, investors have taken their money, then the founders also get money. A lot of people don't think about it that way. They think about, hey, Kuda Bank raised $100 million, X amount of that is going to somebody's pocket. Usually not. Usually it goes directly into the company, unless the company is already successful, already profitable, already, and investors want to invest badly because the business is already so successful. Then the founder can say, hey, out of this $50 million that's coming into the company, you must pay me, founder, $5 million just because the company is already successful. There's no risk. But that is the exception. That is rare, but it happens as well, right? So hopefully, hopefully that's helpful.
Yeah, because I think, thank you very much for us. I know that many people actually don't have this idea when they hear a company actually have raised money. There's a question here. I don't think whether I want to maybe let Bunmi answer that question. Based on Bunmi that I know, who is Bunmi, like in terms of skill sets? Trust me, I don't think Bunmi even have an answer on that. I can actually answer that for you. Who is Bunmi? Trust me, Bunmi does not have an answer to who is Bunmi. I told you Bunmi is a rainbow. Bunmi is everything. He's a developer, he's a DevOps guy, he's a product designer. Like now, Bunmi now is now having a passion for BA and product design. There was the time Bunmi talking about software engineer, the time Bunmi talking about investing. I'm sure when Bunmi wake up tomorrow, he doesn't know what he will talk about tomorrow. So just take Bunmi the way Bunmi comes. So Bunmi is just like, he's just there. There was the time Bunmi is interested in governance in Nigeria. Nigeria must change. Well, he is so passionate about Nigeria. Later Bunmi came and said, guys, I think this Nigeria thing, let me just look for what we are going to do differently. And Bunmi will come back again. And Bunmi is not rigid. So Bunmi is willing to always change per time when he realizes that it looks like I don't want to waste resources here. Let's go and put resources to doing something. And that is the point about it. So Bunmi is like everything. You have heard Bunmi now. If I may ask you, so let me ask everybody here. If you are meant to use one word for Bunmi, let Bunmi even hear a feedback. If you are meant to use one word for Bunmi based on the story you have heard, one word, what will you say Bunmi is? One word. So one word, let me give you 1 minute. So Bunmi, look at what they have to say about you. So watch. So use one word for Bunmi, what will you say? Just use one word for Bunmi. What will you say? Talented, unicorn, enigma, explosive, versatile, visionary, prodigy, plenty. Somebody said this morning, thank God. Impossible, Jagaban. Maybe Bunmi is Jagaban of tech. Okay, problem solver. Okay, so go-getter. Okay, genius. Okay, wow. Okay. Bunmi is now. Okay, Bunmi is wow. Okay, one size fits all. Okay, smart, captain, investor. What's OG? I don't know what OG means. What does OG means? I don't know what OG means. Smart achiever. Okay, risk taker. Okay, you could see. So everybody has like several things to say about Bunmi. So I can Agba tech. Okay, so
you guys are making me blush now. I'm just a hustler. I'm just a little hustler trying to make ends meet and trying to make things work and trying to solve problems. Okay. So
okay. So somebody asked a question. The person said, interesting. I think this is an interesting question. People have heard about Vibranium Valley, right? And I know now it's not getting more, with us hosting the American corner, it's not getting more popular, right? So what's the linkage of Vibranium Valley, Virtual Garden Group, now with Garden Academy? I think it would be good that they hear from you on how this big dream started from. Why Vibranium Valley? Why was it called Vibranium? People might just not even know. So let them hear from you. I don't want to tell them myself. Tell them why Vibranium, right? And what's the concept of Vibranium Valley?
Yeah, so Vibranium Valley is something that is very, very, very dear to my heart, just like Garden Academy is. I mean, I always told people, I think when we just started talking about the concept of Vibranium Valley, I was talking to Diamond. I said, this thing is bigger than VGG. This is bigger than, most other things we've ever done. And that's from looking back 10 years. It's just like, at the 10-year mark in Nigeria, like, okay, what have we done? Have we been successful? Like, how do we measure success? Is it because we raised $20 million? Is it because we started 10 companies? Is it because we made so much in revenue last year? Is it because of profit? Like, what is the biggest definition of the milestone after 10 years? And the thing that kept resonating as we asked people was actually not any of those things. It was actually talking to people that have gone through VGG, whether they went through VGG and they've gone and they've left, whether they went through VGG and they've moved abroad, whether they work for Microsoft or Google now, whether they went to start their own startup, whether they work for UBA or GT Bank today, it didn't matter. What mattered was everybody had an incredible thing to say about how the journey changed their lives, like period, like everybody. And people were willing to put it on camera, people were willing to write it down, and even people that maybe when they were going through it, they were complaining, maybe when they were going through it, it was so consistent. And then the sheer number of people, it became clear that the impact we've had on people, the positive impact, was the single biggest thing that we have done in 10 years. And so it just made sense that we have to now codify it, turn it into a curriculum, compress it so that 10 years or what people go through in an informal environment while working, can we turn it into an academy? And that's the vision of Garden Academy. And that's why, for me, it's one of the biggest things that we're doing. Like, it's bigger than Andela, it's bigger than TopTal, it's bigger than Upwork. And it is both the idea of how we can impact them in a short period of time, like a university is supposed to, and how we can create employment for them that will 3x their earning power guaranteed. Like, so that's the ambition, that's the vision, that's the mission. And I'm so excited to be on this journey, working with Diamond, Mario, Daniel, the rest of the team. I think we're going to do incredible things. It's still early days. It's going to be so excited. Now, that ability, that talent happens also to be, I believe, the incredible opportunity in Africa, right? 1.2 billion people. We're going to be 2.5 billion people by 2050. Nigeria is 200 million people. Nigeria is going to be, 400 million people by 2035 or 2040 or 2050, right? So 400 million people, like the fourth or fifth most populous country in the world that we're going to be in the future, where majority of those people are youth, right? With latent talent that has not been tapped and processed fully. So my analogy to that is basically coming from the Black Panther movie, right? Wakanda, and in Wakanda city or Wakanda country is this mineral called vibranium that is so valuable, right? So that vibranium, mineral in Wakanda to me, is what that talent is in Africa. So we call the Vibranium Valley to basically mean this is the place that people, talent, can come to be able to get to turn into like bigger capacity, right? The way vibranium was like incredible minerals that they used to make all kind of interesting things. That's the way that we see this is. So our dream is to basically drop this Vibranium Valley community into every big African country, and people can come, go through Garden Academy, come out in a way that is just going to be incredible, where their potential can be unlocked. Whether that potential is they're working in an American company, they're starting a company in Yugoslavia or in USSR, in Russia, or they're starting a company in Iceland. Russia is a bad example right now. In China, in Australia, in Africa, it doesn't matter. Let's just unlock that capacity that is built in, in this African mindset, that's waiting to be, basically brought out. So that is a long version of it, but I'm very, very passionate about what we're going to do. It is still early days, but I think it's massive.
Yeah, and thank you very much, Bunmi. And again, thank you very much. It still goes back to this framework that you mentioned about these pillars. You remember, again, it still goes back to this same thing about the people, and you talked about that people again. When you talk about your learning over the years, it's still about people. If you have to do something again, it's about people. At the end of the day, it's all about, and how do we fix this in Africa? It's all about trusting people. And I remember the day we talked together, and you said, Diamond, this guy don't have to pay for this academy. Why can't we we'll fund it, right? Because we need to do this thing for Africa. And that day, it was a big decision that we made. And you said, no, don't be too constrained about it. There are too many people that I see on the street out there who are talented, who are ready to go and do something, but nobody's giving them the opportunity. And you said, let's go ahead and do this thing. And today is something big. This number of people in this room today, they are the product of that decision, because you showed a lot of passion and commitment. I know how much resources goes into this. You said, no, go and focus on this. This is the way we can change this Africa. You felt like, I don't want to talk about Nigeria, but we can fix the talent issue, because this is a big one. And for me, I think when we talk all the time, I see this consistency on you that, guys, when I sleep, I wake up, it's not the product, it's all about these people, it's all about the talent, it's all about this. And I see you done that again and again. I remember when we spoke about Mario, and you're like, and we spoke, I said, Diamond, this guy is a raw guy. He's passionate, he's committed. Then it was in part 2, and we're talking about the virtual internship. I said, no, let's trust everything on him. Let's throw everything at him. I will try to break him. He went to school. Today it's a different kind of discussion, right? Different kind of discussion. And Mario has moved around. He has moved round. It's so interesting, and how you get to do this one. Disrupted the system. We don't care anymore whether you are in school or you are not in school. We don't even care whether you graduate or you don't graduate. We don't even care anymore. As long as you're passionate, you're ready to be consistent, you are very much good to go. And I have built that spirit, I think, among all of us. The guy who drive the brand today for Garden Academy just finished from OAU. I got him when he was in part 3, and I was like, guy, come, stop all this thing you are doing. There's a value for you out there. And today, it's a different ballgame entirely. So it's something we have done again and again. And seeing this one, when I see these guys put up things on social media, I know you have told me many times that you see what they post online and cool. I just feel like, how are we, this guy knows how much it takes, to do all these things. We were going through one of the complaints yesterday online, and we saw one of what their students were doing. Maybe I should even mention the name. I'm sure when they go there, they'll be scared when they go there. So we went through, what was this company that we went through? Career Foundry. And we went through them. And we went through their student portfolio. This is an academy that trains with as much as, is it $45,000, right? $45,000. When we look at the portfolio of their students, and I look at what the academy students are pushing on LinkedIn, I felt like, it looks like, I would normally say, we don't blow our trumpet, right? We don't blow it enough, because a lot of things. I mean, these guys are still saying, I don't think we are doing it. I was like, guys, you are doing a lot. There's nothing bigger in creating the best of application out there, apart from the skills you have. Just go ahead and use them. And for me, even though it's not a session for me, I think that's actually one of the ways of saying thank you to you once again. Maybe everybody can just say thank you to you for believing in that talent, right? You leaning forward, to decide and say, guys, let's go and train these guys. Africa needs them. This way we can change Africa in our own way. I think that's like it was an emotional discussion for us when we had this in October. I can never forget when we had that last week in October. He said, Diamond, let's go ahead and forget the pay for now. They will pay later because the prospects are there, right? And it's a big one. Very few. I know entrepreneurs today are looking for, I want to make money now. Maybe they can't pay, let them stay. And it's actually a big one today. I know you don't get commended. Nobody actually come to say, Bunmi is doing great. You assume you're a magician, But for me, I think it's a very, very big one I would like to call out for you, right? As individual, like, I like that part of you that you lean forward and feel like there is talent here and speak to Babylon Valley once again. Thank you, Bunmi. I know you don't like to be put in the spotlight like this, but we still have to do it, right? So that you will keep on doing more, right? So there's a question here. Somebody said, hi, Bunmi, and this question is very interesting, because there was a time you were trying to say, guys, can we also find private sector, public sector? The person said, hi, Bunmi, have you built product for public sector? I was laughing when I saw this question. And how were you able to manage dealing with civil servants, politicians, other people who are strong stakeholders in that sector, affecting success of our business or of your product? So, Bunmi, can you share? Maybe you can share the back of industry, share work with Brenda Gates, share AVTech, for example. Let them hear.
Man, this one is a been there, done that. We've been there, done that. We talk about product ideas. In fact, a lot of our initial products were more like national scale products. Let's build a product that will, in fact, I remember our very, 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 very first idea was, let's build a product that will help to bring automation and transparency into the FX market, right? Everything from how banks get FX from CBN all the way to how, BDCs, to how you get, BTA for travel, the whole ecosystem, the whole platform. We built a prototype. We built a deck, we built 200 pages of documentation. We did, 50 different pitches and everything. Incredible. But of course, I think dollar to naira yesterday was like 580, right? Or something like that. So you can tell that they did not use our product. We've done, let's automate the Nigeria power sector. Everything. Let's automate, there's, 780 meters on the Nigeria grid. Let's put IoT on it. Let's make sure we're reading the meter every 15 minutes. Let's calculate who is doing the right thing, who is doing the wrong thing, between the genco companies, the generator companies, to the transmission company, to the distribution companies, and do all the things, calculate it automatically, and then the payment movement be automatic. And then anytime the grid goes down, you punish the person who did the wrong thing, like everything in a very transparent way. Like, and by the way, this particular one actually went live for 18 months before the people that you mentioned decided that they wanted to shut it down, right? I mean, I can count 20 large-scale, national-level projects. And these things I'm talking about weren't ideas. So these things, like, we built it, we pitched it, we sold it, and we're trying to solve the biggest problems. Like, I only mentioned 2 to you now. There's probably 15. The biggest problems that's plaguing Nigeria today, as of 2010, 2011, 2012, was when we were conceptualizing and building these things like end to end, right? We went to aviation sector. We said we must automate every aircraft, every passenger manifest, every flight that comes in, every fuel that gets dispensed into every aircraft, every, everything, every landing, every parking, every charter, every cargo, every, now that one was successful. That one is still successful today, 8 years later. So that one is like, on a whole nother level. So again, that we said education is bad. So let's go and digitize a university. We said, let's go to the top universities in the country and let us tell them that they should create an e-university, like a parallel university, its own administration. All the content is digital, brand new contracts for every lecturer who is going to teach in that digital university. Then that way we can combine it with foreign content. That way we can still deliver high quality global content to Nigerian students, et cetera, So pretty much across major sectors, we have tried to do that. We've learned so much, and we also know what's not to propose anymore. But it's been worth it. Learned so much. We've grown so much, and we just want to pass on that knowledge that we went through over a time period. The day that I have a full 2 hours, I'll go over the 15 plus national scale solutions, and the beauty about it is that you will see how each one of those things will solve, like the solution to solve the fuel subsidy challenge in Nigeria, like literally end to end. Anyway, story for another day.
Okay, thank you very much. I know, Bunmi had to still put some things out there, but there are still some things, of course, for very good reasons. He will also not even drop them, but he has dropped many of them actually, by the way, because there are many of them that can actually be very frustrating, right? And I think that answers some of the questions. Like, people assume VGG is big. People assume that everything has been successful all through, and it's good that Bunmi actually has shared that part of. There have been many product fails, and by the way, most of these products, not most, all of these products, we invest our money in them. You can imagine spending millions of dollars to build products, hire developers, get BAs, get all of them to build the product. Then somebody just wake up one day and sign a different policy and say it's not working again, right? And there's nothing you can do about it, right? Maybe me also is smiling about something else that is thinking when I said somebody just wake up one day and say, God, guys, something has changed, without discussion ahead of time. And you have hired people, you have hired Nigerians, you have hired people from different parts of the world, and at the end of the day, you have to change everything once again. Many of them like that. And maybe there is something that we also can also talk about, but there's also been some successes here and there, because maybe you can share about our involvement in trader money, for example.
Yes, no, absolutely. That's another one where, how do you push money to the poor, right? How do you also automate micro loans to people? Again, it was an idea. It was just a concept. It was just a concept where we built, we designed it. How do you make it such that people all over in every single, local government in Nigeria can go to a market and go through agent networks and request a loan and, get it and then of course, Nigeria happens, they then come and they want to abuse the system and all those type of things. So I think these ones, let's talk about it another day. But at the same time, there has been some good thing. A lot of what we did in terms of, digital learning at Ahmadu Bello University is exponential. See the number of people that have the opportunity to get their nursing degree, their MBA degree, without quitting their jobs. It's incredible, right? The work we did in aviation, like I said earlier, the work we did in remittance in terms of helping people move money back home at the cost that's cheaper than anybody else. Of course, until CBN changed their policy last year, that destroyed everything again. But it was incredible while it was going. Some of the work that we've done, in the power sector, not at the grid level, but for Eco Disco, that has a lot of potential to grow. That's why they're the most profitable disco in Nigeria today. So a lot of good things as well, and a lot of learnings. And now we're at the point where we're taking those learnings and we're just saying, okay, no problem, Nigeria, okay, it's okay. Let's pause a little bit. Now we're in Kenya, we're in Dubai, we're taking some of these things into the US. So that really is what's taking my time now. So it's exciting, a new type of challenge.
Okay, thank you very much, Bunmi. I think you have even answered some other questions, which is also very much interesting. I think I like that part very well. And somebody asked a question, this one relates to the part of the people. And also, I think Bunmi can now talk a lot about this now, right? And he will be the expert on this one. Somebody said, Funmi Oladapo said, hello, Bunmi, thank you for this impactful session. I wanted to know how you select which people are the right fit as co-founders. I'm sure that Bunmi is now the expert on this one now.
Yeah, how do you pick the right people? Yeah, I think you're looking for what I look for. I think the number one is humility. So that's humility, and humility is an interesting one because humility, you still want confidence, right? So, but humility just means willingness to learn, willingness to be wrong, willingness to take advice, and putting the role or the mission over self. That's what humility means to me. It's very, very important, in co-founders. I think the second thing that is also important is, people that bring something to the table that's complementary. We spoke about that earlier. Everybody on a team shouldn't be the same thing. Otherwise, everybody will just fall into the ditch together. So you want some diversity. So what thing does this person bring to the table that complements the rest of the team? I think that is very, very key. Third one is just that passion and excellence and execution capability. Can they execute? Can they deliver? Especially in Nigeria, 90% of people cannot deliver. They can talk. Nigerians can talk. Nigerians talk well. But when it comes to where the rubber meets the road, can they deliver? Can they execute? When the deadline is coming, will they show up or will they disappear? I think that's the biggest one for me. Integrity is also good. I think that's a given. That's why I didn't mention that. But not many people have integrity. But integrity is like the basics. The is the 101, right? Are they consistent, right? Are they true to themselves? Are they honest? Are they open? That's also very, very key.
Okay, thank you very much, Bunmi, for that. And somebody asked a question here, Toluwani. Toluwani said, okay, how do you ensure your startup against Nigeria happening? I think you understand that very well. How do you ensure your startup against Nigeria happening?
You can't. You cannot. So at the end of the day, it just comes down to really the way I think about it these days. Again, and I could be wrong, but the way I think about it these days, like, Nigeria is a good place to build. Nigeria is a good place to start because it will teach you. It's almost like you're going for the Olympics to run maybe 200 meters or 400 meters, and you said, okay, let me go and practice my 200 meters on Mount Kilimanjaro. I'm going to run up the mountain and run down. Obviously, that is like extreme. But then if you do that, most likely, your conditioning will be better, at least if it's part of your program. So anyway, I'm using that Nigeria is a good test bed because it will stress you, to push you to the boundaries. And if you can make anything work in Nigeria, it can work anywhere. But the truth of the matter is that the way to ensure your business is then to build and learn in Nigeria and then take it to other markets. Build for a global market. Don't build for Nigeria only.
Oh, so thank you very much, Bunmi. Somebody said something here. I think it's also touching for me. I think this one resonated a lot with as she said, Bukola Odeyemi said, thank you, Bunmi, for this expensive opportunity. Thank you for acknowledging that. And she said, I think she's making a commitment to you. She said, I am going to make you proud. So that is for you, Bunmi. Somebody is saying, I am going to make you proud. I think that really got into her. Thank you very much, Bukola, for dropping that. So Bunmi, take note. One day, Bukola will come back and tell you that she promised you that she's going to make you proud. So take note of that. Okay.
I'm so happy to hear that.
Okay, so that's a very good one, Bukola. And I think it's also the same thing for Okitomisin said, this is the war called Wakanda in the physical location, yeah? Of course, you are coming to Babylon Valley. Remember, we said we are bringing you guys to Babylon Valley in the next few weeks, so it's going to be a big one. Okay, so somebody said, I have a friend I work with, and when he posted at Tag BGG, I was because he's doing big in Dubai right now in tech. Bunmi testimonial, right? So it's good to read about that. So thank God that somebody from outside, is talking about that. Now, Joseph is asking you this question, the touching question for Bunmi. So let me ask it. So Bunmi, if you are nominated to become the president of Nigeria, what is your position? Haven't achieved this success and built a lot of things. Would you be open to build a country knowing that a country is different from its software?
I mean, number one, I don't think I deserve it, but the first is, even if it came, I mean, I don't think I'm interested. I think, I think Nigeria's problems are too plenty and it's too complicated and I really think, actually, more seriously, I think that the problems of Nigeria and the problems of Africa will not be solved by African government. I think the problems will be solved by the most successful entrepreneurs. I truly believe that. I think that's and Diamond said it best. There was a time where I thought that the solution will be in government. And I spent, I think, 2 years or a year and a half. I just basically said, hey, I'm going to devote 30% of my time and give it to nation building. And then I volunteered at NESG, which is a private sector entity, but then they do a lot of government work in terms of just helping to read the policy, helping to draft new policies, helping to critique, and I spent a year and a half. I gave it almost a third of my time. Learned so much. This was in 2020 and 2021, and half of 2021, actually. Because I was like, something has to be able to change. But I think it was important to do from a private sector side. So NESG is an incredible organization. I encourage you all to volunteer there. It's fantastic. They do great work. But that's when I learned that I don't think that the solution in Nigeria is going to be top down from the government. I think if we can create maybe 25 unicorns, right? And you have all these founders that made a lot of money out of that in terms of billions. I think those are the people that can change the country. And so I'd rather drive change from there than to think about, being a leader, a governor, a president, or anything like that. I think capitalism and private sector that cares is where our solutions are likely to come from. Just my current thoughts.
Okay. I can relate to that very well, Boo. Okay, I think you've given some examples to that, but it's good to just hear from you once again. Thank you for good work done. The question is, how many businesses have you started that failed? Looking back, why do you think they failed?
Yeah, too many. I mean, I can't even count. But, I think it's just like the examples I gave. Why did, doing an automation for FX for a country fail? I think number one, timing. Maybe our timing was wrong. Number two, maybe we were trying to solve a problem that's too big. So these days I think about simplifying first before you scale up. Three, having the right team. Team, always, very critical. So I'll say that some of the biggest reasons is probably market timing. I think that's a big one. I think secondly, sometimes is, you're trying to solve a problem that is too big. Start small and scale it up. And thirdly, team.
I think this is very insightful. I like the fact that you put this one. Actually, so I just put it on three things like TTC, timing, team, then complexity. Those are the three big fails of products, right? Okay, so which means that if you want to make it successful, you need to guide against these three things. Oh, interesting. That's nice. Okay, so guys, I think it's so interesting. Getting many questions. I think we have answered nearly all of them. Except there's something that maybe I've missed at any point in time. I don't think I've missed anyone at all. And I want to say thank you very much. It's actually a long series. It's our premiere edition, and I'm so privileged, excited to have you share this kind of story here because of the uniqueness of this kind of group. And I can bet with you that this particular premiere recording is going to You're going to see a lot of testimonials from it in months to come, right? When people say, we had this opportunity of Bunmi, and I heard this kind of thing that Bunmi cannot put in a book. I doubt if you can put everything in a book. You have to write them in like different kind of books. It cannot be in one book because they are just like too much like of them in a very short period. Thank you very much, Bunmi. So we just go to a session now, and the session is, so I've had like some time with Bunmi, to throw some ideas, because like I told you in Garden Academy, it is real life. Like that's the best way you learn. This is what you don't get anywhere. Like I was telling you about a school, like when we're going through their profile and life, I was like, what our guys bring out, what you're going to put yourself on, they are not anything faked anywhere. They're going to be, the way Bunmi is thinking it, is talking about it. This is where our entrepreneurs think. For example, I was telling you about October, while we were trying to build Garden Academy, and we got to a point, we thought like, this is what we saw. Can we create an Uber for talent in Africa, right, for the world? Can we build an Uber for talent where we say, made in Africa, preferred globally? And that was the vision for Garden Academy. I know that a lot of our youth has a picture for a future, right? They have it in their mind. And that's why when you see our screen, when you see my virtual background, you see there, welcome to your tomorrow. And we felt like, how do we stop and start telling people that there's a future for them? How do we bring this future into their now and they start living their best of life? It's by doing something in the now. Somebody put it there when I said describe Bunmi. It's not just about the future, it's all about what can they do now? What value can they bring into now? So Bunmi is going to spend the next few minutes to drop ideas. Don't remember that Bunmi told you that idea is just the 5%, right? So the other part, let me read through them again. When we draw idea into the room now, what you are going to do is that you are going to build the product. You are going to come together as a team, right? Everything will be mentioned in the team, dynamics, how do you resolve conflicts, your leadership, who are your co-founders, how do you come together to build this kind of product? Execution, do you want to keep to your meeting time, delivery on time? You have to present to your business owner, will you be available on time? Execution. And the last time, go to market strategy. So all we will draw in the next few minutes is the idea. And please take note, it is not for us to do analysis of the idea now. It's just that I want you to hear from Bunmi directly to hear about all these ideas, right? And if you like, there's nothing like Bunmi have said, there's nothing like stealing an idea, because idea is just the 5% of it. But hear the idea, and everybody here, you are now going to be working on the idea now going forward. So Bunmi, thank you very much. And now over to you. Over to you, Bunmi. Please listen attentively to Bunmi and take note, because you are still going to come back to this part of the recording later on to hear it. Bunmi is now an investor. Bunmi is the investor now, the business owner. He owns this idea in his mind. And everyone in this room, I'm going to read some when Bunmi is done. And we say thank you to Bunmi. I'm going to read some also to you. I'll tell you about them. So what you are not going to do is that an entrepreneur has come to tell you about the idea in his mind. Is the idea valid? Is it not valid? With evidence. If it's valid, how do you take it to the market? You are going to now work on all the deliverables for us to now take this idea when we share to the market. When you are done in the next 1 month, you are now going to understand what it means to say we take an idea that somebody shared in a Zoom meeting. You now put that idea on a paper, on a sketch. You now take that idea into the market, right? And sometimes an idea is just a statement, a sentence. Want to create an Uber of talent. That's all. Uber of talent. Okay, what does it mean? We now went through a lot of rigorous process to now get to where we are today, that you are seen as tangible in this room. So Bunmi, over to you now. The floor is yours. So go through the ideas that we have, and you are going to be working on this idea as a team. Product designers and BAs work together to bring this idea to life physically. And you are going to present it to business owners. They will give you feedback on a weekly basis on your progress of work. And you have 1 month to get this thing done. And when you are done, for example, everyone that works on this project, we are going to pay for the web hosting. We are going to pay for all the resources for building the product, right? To build the MVP. And you can now come back and say, and tell anybody tomorrow, like I told you, when you are done with this program, then I'm going to give you the certificate that you can validate You can put an experience on your CV and say, I built this product. And somebody can go to the website and check the product and say, this product, I built it from scratch. And there's no bigger portfolio more than that. No other bigger portfolio. If you can show somebody that, look at what I built this product myself, and look at it, it's live and it's running. So Bunmi, over to you. Thank you.
All right. I think we're on the last leg of this. I just want to confirm, can you guys see my screen? And are you seeing the main screen or are you seeing my previous? Are you seeing the right screen?
No, we can
just
see.
Want to make sure.
We can see product ideas, Web3.
Okay. This is this view better or this view is better?
No, this current view is better.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Got it. Fantastic. All right. So here, I actually want to also hear from you guys. So as the screen is rolling, I want this to be very interactive, right? So I'm going to share, I think, 10 ideas, I think. Very quickly, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yes. So we're going to go through it very quickly. And I want to hear what you like, what you don't like, or comments on how to make it better. Now, remember, it's an idea, so it's supposed to be raw by definition, right? It's supposed to be raw by definition. So try not to get into the details of it, because the idea is that you're supposed to streamline it and reposition it in a way that the magic comes out. So the first 4 ideas are going to be in Web3, because Web3 is the future. It's incredible. The metaverse, crypto, everything, DAOs is incredible. It's the future. There's no doubt about that, right? So that's the reason why the 4 of the ideas are on that. So idea number 1 is betting. So betting is an interesting space. It's massive. It's probably one of the biggest movers of money, maybe outside of oil and gas, in many countries, especially in Africa. I don't know if you guys hear that well. Betting gaming is the biggest sector where GMV moves, money is made, and so on and so forth. Maybe outside oil and gas. I'm not even sure. So imagine now doing something that is peer-to-peer, right? I think that's key. Doing that also on the blockchain, right, means that the bookmaker is not necessarily like a Baba Ijebu or something like that. It can be you, right? It can be me. It can be anybody on the chain. I think there's something incredible that could be done there. Idea number 2, content platform for Web3. Because Web3 is going to be big and massive, and because it's early days, there is a need to build a tech cabal for Web3, right? So an online portal that has the news, the companies, the buzz, the insights, the everything like that for Web3, for Africa. And that's an example, the blockcrypto.com. How are you guys feeling so far? Let's which one are you guys liking so far the most? The first one is where the biggest amount of money moves on the continent. Or maybe the number 2 if you remove solid minerals. The second one means that it's the new cutting edge place where people can find everything about this new space. Okay, I think people are liking number 2. Number 2 will give you fame. Number 1 will give you money. Okay. Number 3 is social network. So build the LinkedIn for Web3. So that basically is saying reputation management, right? Verification, who am I, all running on the blockchain, and a way to, essentially drive reputation in a way that is more authentic. All right? Social network. I think the future social network that runs on the blockchain, on the metaverse, is going to be very, very interesting. So your picture on there is likely going to be your metaverse avatar, right? So anyway, so think LinkedIn for Web3. Number 4 is all about Afrobeat is hot right now globally, right? I think it's even what they call the charts, the Billboard charts has created a new category for Afrobeats, right? You have Joe Boy and Ed Sheeran, you have like all these different people collaborating and everything like that. Space is getting big. Nollywood as well. There's a lot of content that's going on Netflix and everything like that. BB Niger, the amount of attention is incredible. People are paying $1 million to advertise on there. All these people, all these artists, all these popular people and their attention. How can you tokenize that attention, tokenize that ecosystem so that it can be monetized? So what are you guys liking so far? 1, make money. 2, fame. 3, be the next Mark Zuckerberg and all the relationships. 4, media, fame, the intersection between that and a stock exchange, almost like an exchange for the attention of these people for monetization. Okay. Now we move to 5 and 6. So, item 5, in Nigeria, people have to pay 1 year of rent upfront, right? And landlords do that because of lack of trust. And they need the cash flow, but it's more lack of trust more than anything else. Is there a way to solve that in a way that has not been done before? Okay, so that's open-ended. Agric has some huge opportunities. There's a startup called Apollo that just raised, was it $140 million or something like that? I don't remember the amount. But is there an opportunity basically to provide almost like a digital bank, a super app that is dedicated to farmers that can help them with everything they need? Input, fertilizers, cash out, insurance, selling their products, etc. How are you guys feeling on this one, on these 2, 5 and 6? 6 looks big.
It's getting interesting and confusing. People are now combining 3 together.
6, everyone's gotta eat. 5 for me. Okay, 6 looks like the real deal. But you also know that farmers are tough. They're not educated. How are you going to reach them? Right? 6 will need a lot of breaking down into bits.
So, somebody said, "Oh, I know why you don't sleep. Why you sleep for 4 hours?"
7 and 8. Okay. So 7 is a restaurant slash, a bar, club, inventory manager. So how do I know how much, drinks I have, how much Heineken I have, how much vodka I have, how much whatever, right? And managing that inventory, and then maybe potentially connecting that inventory back to the supplier, right? So imagine where Coca-Cola knows exactly how much Coke you have left, and they come and deliver at the right time, right? Then item 8 is now, could we also now provide some financing, right? Where Heineken, Guinness, because they know your inventory in real time, they are actually comfortable providing loans to you to fund that inventory so that you can get to pay more. You can get to sell more, right? And again, you could just focus on drinks. You could focus on just one small segment, just one small segment that just works, and tie it back together. Item 9 and 10 is targeting the startup market. Obviously, there's only 2 good things that's coming out of Nigeria right now. Number 1 is Afrobeats, Nollywood, the creative sector. Number 2 is tech sector. Everything else is bad news. So how do you build something around the good news, right? So how about something around the startups that are raising a lot of money? All the startups are raising a lot of money. Each time they raise money, they are likely taking 10% of the value of the company, which is massive, and giving it to their employees in what they call stock options, employee stock options. Now, those stock options are just paper. They're worth nothing on day one, especially in Africa, because Africa is not mature yet, so people don't see the value. Now, imagine a case where you provide a financing platform, you connect people that know the value, right? Employees don't see the value. Those people that know the value will give you, the employee, some money, so that I take the value of the equity in the future, right? So it either allows employees to sell or allow employees to borrow money against the value or the future value of the stock. So those are the 10 ideas. And I am going to pause. You'll see that in picking these ideas, I'm looking at macro trends, I'm looking at micro trends, I'm looking at a problem, and I'm looking at something that could create a unicorn.
Thanks for listening to the Garden Academy Fireside Chat with our host, Oladiamonds, and special guest, Bunmi Akinyemiju. We hope you enjoyed our deep dive into all the insights you need to build viable products from idea to market. If you are keen to know more about the tech world, join us on our next episode of Fireside Chat. Subscribe to this channel and turn on the notification button. Leave a rating and review. Recommend the channel to co-workers, friends, and family. Head over to www.gardenacademy.io to sign up to our email list, as well as check out all the links and resources in the description to know more about the Academy. That's all for being with us on this episode. See you next time.